Hello everyone, today I'm gonna make a breakdown of a song from my latest EP, Last Contact. It's a song called Things We Can Only Wish. I'm going to go through some of the decisions that I make in terms of sounds, mixing, a bit of composition that I used to make this song and the EP in general. This is all the tracks that the project has. We have drums, a bit of percussion here, guitar solos, a bit of extra guitars here and here, the main rhythm guitars, bass, a lot of synths here, and a bit of extra impacts and risers to kind of really elevate the sound of the production of the song. This is how it sounds. That was the main riff of the song. Starting off with the drums, as always, I used the One Kid Wonder Metal by GGD. I just think they sound insane. They are already pre-mixed, so I didn't need to do a lot to them to really make them sound the way I wanted. This is how I programmed the drums. It is very important to give some dynamics to them, especially if you are working with MIDI drums. For example, here we have a lot of dynamics in the velocity of the cymbals. For example, on the snare drum as well. For example, a lot of ghost notes to make the sound of the drums a lot more real and like if it was played by a real drummer. Then all of these tracks are guitars. This is how the main guitars sound. What I look for in a metal guitar sound is a very defined distortion, because in a riff like this, for example, it's all chords on the guitar, so if you don't have that definition of the sound, you're not gonna get a great sound, in my opinion. For the main guitars, I used a combination of two Neural DSP plugins. The Archetype Gojira for the amp section. I used the third amp with the boost to give some more grit to the sound. And then it goes to the Archetype Nolly on the white cabinet, which sounds really good in my opinion, really defined, as I told before. Then we have some extras. For example, we have these guitars. I generated this sound picking very quickly the note that I was playing and then adding a lot of delay and reverb, in this case from Archetype Nolly, to make the notes really last a lot. And then as well also using a lot of distortion for the amp. Then we have these guitars, which are kind of strange. They sound like this. They don't sound really good. I use them to achieve this kind of fizzy high end that I think the riff needed for some reason. I didn't use these guitars on every riff on the EP, just on some riffs. This amp was generated with Archetype Gojira, using the third amp with the gain at maximum basically, and turning off the cabinet. That's the way you achieve this really fuzzy sound. And yeah, I basically added these guitars to add some excitement to the riff. Very important, I added some delay to these guitars because if they were perfectly synchronized with the main guitars, you could have some phase issues and stuff like that, so I added this delay. Then we have the guitar solos. These are the high gain ones, this is the lower gain solos in the middle of the song. This is how the high gain solo sounds. Just like the rhythm guitars, I used a combination of Archetype Gojira for the amp section and Archetype Nolly for the cabinet section. But in this case, I used the second amplifier of Archetype Gojira, and yeah, the boost as well, just like the rhythm guitars. I really like this amplifier for lead playing. This is the low gain solo. And yeah, for this one I just used the Archetype Nolly with the crunch amplifier, and yeah, delay and reverb, just like the high gain solo as well. All of the electric guitars were recorded using this LTD NH1000. Then we have the bass, a very important part of the mix. It sounds like this. It was generated using a MIDI instrument, in this case Djinbass by Submission Audio, and I just really like the pick attack and the tone of this bass, and I think it also has a really defined low end. And yeah, for the distortion as well, I just used the inbuilt distortion of the plugin, which I think it sounds perfectly fine for a mix like this. The only thing is that I exported the distorted sound and the DI sound, and I mixed them separately. I cutted all of the high end of the DI and compressed it a lot to really have a defined note. I did the opposite thing on the distorted track by cutting all of the low end. And then we have all of these tracks which are very important for this song and for the EP in general, because they really give an extra volume and an extra depth to the song. We have a piano generated by hybrid keys. I just really like the ethereal sound that it offers. We have another synth here as well, and yeah, another synth here to add some texture, an arpeggiated synth, and another arpeggiated synth here. So for example, this is how they all sound together. The aim for these sounds was to create a really nice texture behind some of the smoother parts of the song. For example, this synth right here. Of course, the main piano is the most important one. And I also added an arpeggiated synth to give a bit of extra movement and rhythm to certain sections of the song. Then we have these sounds, which are basically impacts sounds. They really differentiate each part and each section of the song. This is how they sound. We also have this, which is a fake bass. So I alternate some section of the song with the real bass, which is Djinbass, and this, which is a electronic bass, which sounds like this. This was to give a bit of extra definition to the chords of the piano and stuff like that. I spent a lot of time in automations because I think they are probably the most important part to really make a song progress from start to finish. For example, in this drum section here, I lowered the volume of the snare drum and added a reverb to the snare drum to really make this part sound with a lot more reverb and ambience. On the guitar solo as well, I automated the reverb amount to emphasize some notes or some sounds that the guitar makes. This is how it sounds, for example. Little things like that, I think they really add a lot to the final production of the song. On this synthesizer, for example, I automated the cutoff to really make the synth rise and then introduce a new part of the song. This is how it sounds. And yes, there are automations like this all over the place, on the piano, on the drums, on the bass as well. Not a lot on the bass, but a little bit of volume as well on the bass, on the rhythm guitars, a bit of pan automations as well. One of the main things I tried to achieve with this song was to have a really powerful riff, yes, but with a lot of ambience behind. So if I mute the main guitars and play you the main riff, it sounds like this. Yes, these were basically all of the sounds that I used to really make this song complete. If you want to listen to my EP, it is out on all the streaming platforms. I'm gonna leave some links in the description. And yeah, I hope you like this video, and if you liked, you can leave a like, subscribe, all that stuff, and yeah, see you soon.